Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today and giving us a little bit of your time. First of all, I will just give you an overview about Primelight and who we are, if people don't know who we are. Primelight was established in 1992, and we now have a market-leading position in the supply of high-quality components into the lighting industry. As a component solution provider, we have a vast range of products covering everything needed to build a luminaire from start to finish. This is from gear trays to drivers, LED boards, wiring, connectors, up to wireless lighting control, optics, lighting track, and emergency solutions from control gear up to full products. We have exclusive distribution agreements with a number of global manufacturers, which give us an unrivaled range of products from a trusted, audited, and reliable sources throughout. So they can always be trusted. We have UK warehousing where we hold over £1 million of stock. That helps us do fast delivery for our customers when they need them, holding over 2 million items in stock at any one time. We also offer design and commissioning support. So if you need help designing your product and the solutions that go inside of it, or if you need help designing the full solution for controls or emergency, we're able to offer that as well. We like to work closely with our customers to support vendor consolidation and sort of make their supply chains even more efficient. Instead of buying from 10 people, if you can buy them from one, just makes life a little bit easier. We're positioned as a supply chain partner to many UK lighting OEMs, contractors and wholesalers, and help support them in the many industries that they supply into, so catering, facilities management, building, etc. So yeah, that's just a little overview of who we are and what we do. I'll pass over to Richard and he can go into a little detail about Chess and who they are.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining us on this lovely day. If you're in the UK, hopefully you appreciate the same weather we got outside. Yeah, welcome along. Just like a little overview of Chess. So we established in 1998 as a machine-to-machine communications solution, and one of the first projects we ever did was Schiphol Airport, linking all of the carousels, the moving walkways, the blinds, and of course lighting control together. This soon became apparent that secure wired protocols were very useful and very needed in the building industry. But wires were always a challenge, and getting wires and communications linked together proved various different challenges. So it was deemed that the best solution was to move to wireless. So in 2014, we introduced the complete wireless system based upon the same protocol. So we made it wireless. So we are really, rather than a lot of people see themselves in the industry as a control solution, we're a protocol. So we sit there and we're radio agnostic. So we can work on 2.4 gigahertz, 868, any different wireless protocol. It doesn't matter. The system will work on it. So this is kind of where we positioned ourselves as an enabler rather than as a manufacturer. So whether it's for lighting control, whether it's for building monitoring, whether it's for applications that we haven't heard of yet and sensors haven't even been invented yet, we've got a protocol to work on that. So let's carry on and over with Ben for the rest of the presentation.
That's great, thanks Richard. So yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about why Primelight have partnered with Chess and what we believe each company brings to the table. So from the Chess side, they've got great product knowledge about what they do and able to give us really good technical support on all the solutions, including full documentation. So that's 105-page commissioning guide, full data sheets, wiring schematics, STP files if you need those imported, CAD files, pretty much anything you could need, we can make that available for you. Commissioning support. So whilst we do look to put commissioning out to third-party contractors, if a customer wants to undertake their own commissioning, more than happy to help support them on that, or even if it's just making changes after the fact and everything's been installed. Ongoing product design, the solution is always evolving, whether that's creating a solution with a NEMA or a Zaga socket, or just creating a new housing or a new way of mounting it. It's constantly moving forwards and getting better and better. The guys at Chess have fantastic technical knowledge about everything they do, and all of them have a development background of some kind. So sort of really good set of guys to have partnered with. And then from the Primelight side of things, what I think we add is we've got experience in wireless lighting. I've been doing it for about 8 years myself. We've got design capabilities, which we'll go into later. So controls has always been seen as somewhat of a dark art. We want to take that stress away from people and design the full control schematic for you. Then you can just focus on doing what you know best, which is the luminaires. We hold UK stock, so we're not looking 10 to 12 weeks to bring it in from abroad. Generally, we'll be able to issue it in a couple of days. We've been going for 28 years. We're reliable. We're not going anywhere. You can trust that if you do a project with us in 5 years, we'll still be around. Throughout the team, we've got great industry knowledge and product expertise for all the different products that go around the MyMesh solution, whether that's drivers, emergency products, or anything else. Each of the guys is incredibly knowledgeable in each of those, and we can help advise on those. And that leads into the technical device and the supporting products as well. Each of the team members can offer great technical advice on that product and the supporting products to go around it. So yeah, I think it's a really great partnership, both sides bringing something to the table and creating a really great solution for the market. So yeah, if we go on and we can give you a sort of a brief overview of the system and what it does. So MyMesh it's as Richard said, it's a wireless protocol. So it's not purely a lighting control system. It's a protocol for building management, which can have things such as HVAC control, ventilation, water, asset tracking, etc. added to it. The way it works with luminaires is that you have a module that you integrate into your light fitting or external to the light fitting. That wires into your driver, on off, 1 to 10 volt, DALI, etc., and controls that to either dim or turn off the light. Then we either have plug-in PIRs, microwave sensors, or externally mounted PIR sensors and switches to control those luminaires. So it's incredibly easy to design into a solution, install, and then specify as well. So from a specification point of view, you pretty much are just going to allow for your normal luminaires and then external mounted PIRs if required. And then from the DALI emergency side, I think this one's quite important because out there is some other emergency wireless systems, but not necessarily those that incorporate the DALI element of it. So whilst that gives us our monthly flick tests, our yearly 3-hour duration tests, what it also does is it allows us to pull back information from the light fitting in the emergency, so we can look at battery status, lamp status, etc. But then we can also program in times for tests. So if you're doing somewhere like a hospital, where they will not want a 3-hour duration test during the middle of the night, you can program those to happen during the day as well. So I think that's a really key feature of the solution. So that's just a very brief overview. So effectively, it's a node mounted inside a luminaire. Then you bring in your control functionality, whether that's PIR or manual control via switch. And if you've got emergency, all it needs is a DALI self-test emergency module, and off you go. So very simple, very easy to use. So what we'll do is on to the next slide, I'll pass over to Richard, and he's just going to talk a little bit more about why go with wireless. So what are the benefits of that over the conventional systems?
Yeah, so it's all about making your building fit for purpose and future ready for standards that are available now and standards that are coming up that we don't even know about. So we, as Ben mentioned, we generally start the installations with a lighting solution, mainly because it's there. Lighting is usually very easy to replace and is currently being replaced with energy saving LED and upgraded with controls. And at that point, we've now started to create a backbone in the building that's prevalent throughout the building that we can then use to connect other functionality, be it leak detection or various other devices, heating, HVAC control, etc. So how do we do this? So we just have a wireless protocol. We have a wireless device that sits in the luminaire, and we have a commissioning app. It's very simple. It takes 30 seconds to people to be trained on how to use this. It's so easy to use. And then it's your building, and who better to know how to use this building and all the settings and the parameters in the building but the persons that occupy it. So with the addition of the commissioning app that they can download free of charge from the internet, we'll train the end user in the building or the facilities management team to modify and change all the timeouts and the daylight settings, etc., in their space, so they can optimize the building for now and different changes that happen in the space going forwards. Over to Ben.
Thanks for that, Richard. So yeah, this is just a real brief overview to show there's sort of 2 levels to the system. So to just use it as a control system, like we said, very easy and straightforward. put a node into a luminaire, choose your automatic or manual control, PIR, microwave, etc., and then commission it with the very simple Choose iOS app. So as Richard said, it's a free download, and then there's a sort of Bluetooth gateway to allow the iPad to the luminaires, and off you go. Nothing else needed on top of that. So if you're purely looking at it from a lighting control system wise, very easy, very simple to do. Effectively, two items you need, commission it, and there you go. If you want to take it to the next level and you want to sort of start bringing in monitoring and emergency monitoring, etc., energy status reports, what we do is you get a very secure MyMesh gateway that gets mounted on the site and takes that information for you and puts it onto the cloud to be accessed from the web app, which can be accessed from anywhere. So that's sort of the second tier, that if a customer really wants to see what's going on their site, see if a luminaire has failed, see if an emergency has failed, do the emergency reporting, you can go up as well. So it's giving the customer options about how much they use of the system, and if they want to pay for all the extras and put the extra bits and pieces on site, or they can just have a very low level simple control system, which again is still going to save them money. They just get a little bit less visibility over what's going on the site. So moving on to the next slide is just a brief overview of the commissioning app. Richard, if you could just tell everyone a little bit about how the commissioning app works.
Sure. Okay. So we've got two options, two solutions there. One is on the left-hand side would be the actual reporting of some of the information we can gain off site, and then on the right-hand side it is an image of an iPad. And this commissioning app is very simple. We have public devices that are unsecure, open, ready for anyone with the MyMesh commissioning app to sit there and control. At that point, these devices are dragged over, just drag and drop over into your building on the right-hand side. And at that point, whenever we do that setting change, it locks all of the units with secure wireless keys, 128-bit, 10 times a second changing key, that now enables that building and those devices only to be visible to the person with the commissioning app. So that at that point, that's our second stage of security and where everything starts. So as you can see quickly on there, this is just a little screen grab of some of the functionality and how easy it is for anyone to change. So you just go to a room and then somebody can adjust the startup level, the fade time, how long it takes to sit there, and for the motion sensor to time out, and various other settings. All very simple. None of this going through DALI coding, going through different groups, going through special protocols, commissioning engineers, laptops, all of that, all gone away and designed really for the user in mind and ease of implementation. And on the left-hand side, we've just got a kind of a status report that's running just on a particular project. It's just giving us a health check, how many devices have been reported in the last 24 hours, what their software status is, etc. This is kind of the information that we can get, and that's getting more and more information from the system. We can do various diagnostics to see how long the device is, how secure the protocol is, i.e. not secure in that way, but robust is probably the better way to do it. So we can make sure that devices are communicating in the right way, that there's no issues on site, etc. So over to Ben.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this one, just a real brief overview of some of the products that are involved in the MyMesh system. So we've got a multi-sensor daylight and presence detector. There's a 6-meter variant and 12-meter variant for high bay applications. Slight difference on this over some of the traditional products is it's battery powered, rated at 10 years. So for install, all you have to do is mount a bracket to the ceiling and pop it in. So for installers, contractors, incredibly easy. You're not having to pull any extra 230 volts or anything around a building. So for retrofit, it's fantastic. Then we've also got the remote switch, similar. It's got battery rated at 15 years, allows you to do 4 scenes, color temp control, scenes, color temperature control, RGBW control, all of that sort of good stuff. And then at the bottom, we've got the 2 variants of nodes. Effectively, these are both the same, but one of them works with SR drivers, so sensor-ready drivers, no mains power required for the unit to be mounted. To be powered, sorry. And then we've got the mini BLC, which is your traditional 230 volt input node. As you can see at the bottom left of that, there's also a plug-in for an aerial. So that's an external aerial if you've got an all-metal luminaire to mount the head outside the unit or up through the cable gland. For example, if you've got a linear suspended metal luminaire, You've got 4 sides of metal and sometimes hard to get a signal out. Mount this near the cable gland, pull the little external antenna out of there, and you're going to get a considerably better signal and no issues. And then in the bottom left, we've just got the very discreet looking Ethernet gateway that just sits on site, pulls all the data and puts it up to the cloud. So yeah, just a real brief overview just so you guys can get an idea of what it is that we're trying to put inside Luminaire. So the mini BLC, just to give you an idea of size, is probably about the length of a credit card and about half the width. So very easy to mount inside a Luminaire. And then the micro BLC is even smaller than that, about the same width, but about 2/3 the length. Of course, we have data sheets for all of these available if needed. So this is just a little acronym we've come up with to describe kind of the benefits and what the system can do. So SMART, starting off with scalable. So the system, you can start with 10 devices, go up to 10,000 devices if you really want to. There's no sort of minimum, there's no sort of maximum to go with it. There's no, DALI extenders needed every 64 devices or anything like that. You can start small, add on to it, and sort of go as big as you want. There's some projects already in the UK, 5 to 10,000 devices. So there's no limit on that. There's no issues with too many lights crashing the mesh or anything like that. So projects can kind of be as big or small as you want. If you want to do a single classroom, not an issue. Do a test, add on to it, and expand, and go from there. Next one we've got is maintained. So this is going into emergency aspect of it. So with the MyMesh emergency system, it is agnostic to any emergency provider, but I will state that we've fully tested it with all the emergency solutions that we provide from PrimeLight, and we can say that it's got full compatibility with all of those. So if we can help with that, please feel free to get in touch on that as well. Solution is fully automated. Install it, the system will test itself, report it back to you, produce reports, give you all the information you need without someone sort of physically walking around and manually flicking the lights on, which in big buildings is quite a large expense. Meets all testing standards, full set of logged results for the customer. Like we said, it's compatible with any DALI self-testing Luminaire, and it's fully safe and secure. So there's no issues with that, and that kind of leads on to the next slide, which talks about the secure and safe side of the system and the security aspect, which Richard's going to go into a little bit more detail because he knows it much better than I do.
Yeah, so thanks, Ben. So one of the major questions we always get as soon as we start talking to customers is wireless, and how secure is the wireless protocol, especially when we mention that we're running in the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, which is all intents and purposes quite a congested spectrum that people think, oh, everything is running this. You've got Bluetooth mesh, you've got Wi-Fi, you've got Zigbee, you've got various other devices all running in this spectrum. But we sit there and use various areas of the spectrum that is minusculely used. So we run in the Bluetooth advertising channels, which are the far left and right of the side of the spectrum you can see on the diagram in front of you. So what does that mean? That area of the protocol, which is unlicensed, publicly available throughout the world for people to use, rather than being a lockdown license. So we sit there and we'll broadcast 1/10 of the time in that area. So we're just minuscule packets of data sending around the system. So we're not streaming, we're not broadcasting, we've got no interference with anything else in there. And likewise, because we're sending such little data around, anything that happens to be in that area is nothing to sit there and worry us, because we're continuously doing lots and lots of little bits of data. So down to the security, we run 128-bit security, which is similar to your Wi-Fi that you've got running in your house or your office, and we change our security keys 10 times every second. So if somebody really wants to sit there and have a look at sit there trying to get into our system, they can grab a security key at that particular time, but then 10 times in the next second it's going to change to another random number. So they've really got to really concentrate on what they want to do. And to be honest with you, if they can crack it, I think they should be better off spending their time investing into banking, etc., rather than trying to turn somebody's lights on and off. So over to Ben on the next side of things on adaptive.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, so adaptive, basically what we're trying to say with the system is that it's not a fixed solution that only works in one or two certain instances. To date, we've already looked at 5 or 6 projects and have been successful in those that are very, very different in their nature. So we've looked at retrofitting into a retail environment. We've looked at brand new builds into luminaires, and every time it's trying to come up with a slightly different solution. So one of the great things with Primelight is all the other products we have, we can bring those in and create the solution that fits the customer and the project. So if we need to, create a wiring box that controls 4 lights off one, then we can do that. If we need to retrofit it into a box onto a contactor, we can do that. If we need to mount it into a luminaire with an SR driver, we can provide all those things to make it happen. So the solution is incredibly adaptive to what the customer is after. If they just want the emergency reporting side of it, we can provide the customer, with the full luminaire, with it built in, ready to go and be installed on site. We can take care of the commissioning and everything sort of start to finish in between, and come up with that great solution for the customer. So what we say is, if you've got a project, talk to us about it, and we'll work together to come up with the solution that sort of fits best, really. So moving on to the next one, which is our reactive. One of the great benefits of having a wireless control system is the saving, but also how reactive it can be to your requirements, especially in today's world with less and less people being in an office. If only half your office is in use, then you don't need to have half the lights on. So what you can do, you can adjust that. So you turn off areas of lighting, you dim them down, you're more aggressive with your savings, so you reduce your timeouts. So there's some of the ways people save with a wireless system. It's the presence and absence detection. We're all aware that that's kind of the main saving in the daylight control. Emergency reporting, part of it is just it's guaranteeing that it's being done and it's being done correctly, but also you're not having to pay someone to walk around and physically do those tests, which if you're doing it across multi-sites, is sort of a huge saving. From an install point of view, it's always going to be a lot cheaper than a traditional DALI or hardwired solution, because you're just not having to pull those cables. If you're doing DALI emergency, all you need is 3-core throughout the building, because you're never having to turn the lights off. You're either going to turn them off via PR or switch. So retrospectively, adding emergency becomes considerably cheaper as well. So from a maintenance point of view as well, if you had a traditional DALI system, having to pay every time a driver drops out, £500–600 a day, commissioning time, it becomes really expensive, and was, in my experience, is a big off-putting side of those systems to people. In terms of commissioning time, 200–300 lights a day, no problem. So it means that when the project is finished, to get everything set up and off site, incredibly quick. Obviously, dimming, if you install lights at 100% output from day one, you could just drop them to 80% if the customer is happy to drop those levels down, and you've got an immediate 20% saving. So the ease of installation integration, you're building this into your luminaire is incredibly easy, especially with the remote PIRs or the microwave sensors. Everything's integral. You're not having to modify the outer casing of the luminaire at all and then try and re-IP rate it or anything like that. It's the node and a microwave inside, or a node and then a remote PIR. So from an integration side of things, incredibly easy to do. And then for ease of specification for consultants or architects, etc., it's really simple to do. Node in luminaire, PR on ceiling, off you go. So yeah, lots of benefits to going wireless, and this is normally what drives a lot of these projects. Is although you've got a higher upfront cost, you're going to save it all on the install and the savings over time. So trusted. This one I'm going to pass over to Richard, because he's going to talk about a sort of key Chess UK project in the UK, which is Blue Water Shopping Centre. And having worked on that, I think, for the last 2 years or so, Richard, you can go into a lot more detail than I could about it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ben. So we started this project late 2018, early 2019, with a meeting with the electrical contractor, I think the electrical wholesaler, and the emergency lighting provider at the time, with a requirement to sit there and make the emergency lighting solution wirelessly monitored, and the reason and controlled and triggered. Mainly, they were doing an LED lighting upgrade in the car park at the time, and they could not run additional wiring in there. Well, they could, to make it compliant with current regulations, but it would have been very challenging with it all being mounted in conduit. So they'd have had to surface mount and rewire the entire car park, which is not an appealing situation, and was having quite a detrimental effect to the savings that would be achieved by going from T5 fluorescent to LED in the first place. So we came in, we started looking at the emergency lighting only, and then suddenly kind of started to take them on the journey of why are you only doing the emergency lighting? Why don't you start looking at energy savings for the car park as well by putting in the whole solution throughout the car park with the remote mounted PIRs and energy saving by high-end trimming, and also changing the occupancy levels from a triggered level to a standby level. And the reason we don't turn the lights off, even though they look like they're kind of off in that kind of slightly dark car park, is during the day, people will not go into a car park if the lights are off. They think it's closed and they feel unsafe. So during the day, the occupancy level is taken down to 20%. So just to give a glow, so it doesn't look shut in any way whatsoever. And it's surprising how bright 20% is in an underground car park or an enclosed car park. But this then gave us a slight challenge coming forwards, which was presented by the customer in March, when all shopping centres were shut, and they had car parks that were still running at 50% and 20% with nobody in there, but it was completely empty, devoid of public, and then the lights were still on 20%. So they asked us, could we do something that would enable the lighting to still function, but turn off the change the set point. So we reprogrammed the entire system remotely and changed the unoccupied level to 0 and the occupied level to 50%. So as soon as somebody walked in there, they came on just for security walk around, and then they went back to 0. And this setting proved so popular with the client, they then asked us to implement this throughout the centre at different times of the day. So now at 6 in the morning, the centre will run 50% and 20% unoccupied, but at 1 o'clock in the morning, it then goes to the setback period where it's 50% on and then 0 off. And so therefore they're saving that 6 hours, well, 5 hours if you from 5 till 6, of additional energy rather than leaving them all running at 20%. So, but it also gives them the ability to notice somebody's in that car park, because all the CCTV now gets triggered because of the light level increasing in there. So it's kind of a good kind of message of taking people on the journey and also being trusted and adapted. And on the subject of trusted as well, when we started this, we ended up having a meeting with the network team at Blue Water, the IT guys, and they were the biggest challenge, to be honest with you, to start with, because they were concerned that we were running 2.4 gigahertz and we're going to interfere with all the Wi-Fi infrastructure, we're going to interfere with all the Bluetooth for all the CRM machines and everything else running in the center. So 3 months later, and a massive document that I've never seen anything, it's kind of like a BREEAM assessment, but for security. We went through and did all of Landsec's security questions and passed them with flying colours, to the degree that we now have access to that document, that if there's a particular customer that needs it under duress, like a hospital or something like that, to sit there and verify these, the wireless security is completely compliant with anything they could ever throw at us, it is available, and Landsec have agreed that we can share it for people on request. So over to Ben.
That's great, thanks Richard. So one of the bits I want to go over is just where's Primelight's added value in this, and what can we add to it. So one of the things we're trying to offer to people is free of charge. We can take your drawing, your project, and we can do all the markups required, and basically work out the full solution for you for the project, and give you back marked up drawings with a key, with explanations of everything that can then go back to the customer. So instead of having to sit there and try and work out all the solution yourself and take the responsibility, we want to do that for you, and sort of take some of the stress of trying to work out these control solutions, because we've done it for so long that it's very, very simple to do. So if you've got any projects you want to have a look at, and you want to go over, please feel free to get in touch, and we can go over those and complete those for you. And then I think one of the last slides we've got is just the supporting documentation that we can provide. You know, briefly went into it earlier, we've got full technical specifications for everything. We've got a 2-3 page guide, as Richard just said, with 127 different questions posed by the Blue Water Shopping team about the security of the system. We've got STP files, data sheets, pretty much anything you could ever want, documentation wise, we can get sent out to you immediately. So in terms of the support that you need to sort of, if you're looking to take on the system or work with it, it's all there for you. And I think that's it. So yeah, that's our sort of brief overview of the system. We didn't want to do sort of too much of a deep dive into the technical aspect of the solution, but we'd be more than happy to if that's something people would want. I think we're going to say if there's any questions, we can go over those now, Lisa.
We have got a few questions. If you're happy for me to just go through all of them. We've got the first one from Jack Martin. You talk about cost savings. What is the average cost saving between MyMesh and a nominal DALI wired system?
It's hard to put a number against, but generally the saving is going to come from the fact that you don't have to pull a DALI pair around every light fitting in your building. You don't need a computer. You don't have to pay someone X amount to commission it over a much longer period of time, because in general DALI systems take much longer to commission as well. And then there's also none of the ongoing cost of calling someone out every time it fails. So,
and one other thing, Ben, on a wired DALI system, you're very restricted with the amount of cabling you can put in and how many luminaires you can connect together, and the amount of planning needed to make sure that you don't go over 64 fittings on a bus, 16 control groups and everything else. So that's an additional saving as well.
Yeah, I think generally what we found is anytime we've quoted against the DALI project, it has come out cheaper. Obviously, the luminaires are going to be a little bit more expensive because you've got to have something additionally in them. But from the install side, it's the savings often outweigh it. And what I tend to find is the DALI systems are so overly complicated that people just want to get rid of them anyway. You know, over the last 8 years of doing wireless projects, so many sites you've gone to, they've installed a DALI system, someone was trained on it, that person left, and they've sort of never ever used it since, and the computers, they're collecting dust, and they don't want to pay someone to come out and replace 2 or 3 drivers. So the system ends up just falling into disrepair a little bit. But we can look into doing some work about actual figures against that, Jack, no problem.
Another one from Jack. Do you see wireless being more prevalent in buildings over a wired solution, or will it be a hybrid system with wired and wireless sitting together on the same system?
Don't know if you want to take that one, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, it generally depends. It's horses for courses. If you're going wireless, obviously you've got a very wide range of adaptability and reconfigurability. You're not restricted by the amount of devices that you can put together. Well, we certainly aren't anyway. Other people may be, but up to 10,000 devices without a challenge. So multiple sensors, multiple control points, and it just keeps adding. And we don't actually have an issue of when you add more devices of the network getting weaker. In fact, the network actually gets stronger the more devices we have. So, you know, the hybrid, I can't really see you'd need both, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's generally wired or wireless, but I could see why people might want just a wired connection for the Ethernet side of things. I noticed Jack's got another question about there as well, about why battery, and have you considered an Ocean? Yes, actually, we have considered an Ocean. The only issue with an Ocean is we're unable to run our security on the Ocean switch because it doesn't have the ability to run the key change in the background, because it only sends power and only transmits whenever you push a button. So it would work for the first time, and then after that, the security keys wouldn't be able to keep up because there'd be no background processes running in the keypad. So unfortunately, as much as we'd love to use it, we're unable to. So we're on the challenges of a 15-year battery life on a battery solution.
Lisa, just quickly, I've just seen in questions, Ben Williams said the sound's gone. Yeah. Could people just let me know or let us know if they can still hear us?
Tap the wave button if you can, or if there are any further issues, just let us know. we're still getting questions in, so
More questions in.
Okay, well, I'm assuming people can still hear us then. So
okay, we've had one in from Bogdan. What are the security standards you use? Also, what sort of access do you need to a customer IT infrastructure? Does that?
Okay, do you want me to go with that one, Ben?
yeah, that's definitely one for you, Richard.
Yeah, security standards. Unfortunately, we're desperately trying to find a wireless security standard that we need to comply to. There are rumours that people are trying to create them and get effectively like an IEC standard for wireless security for networking. But so we're running 128-bit security, as mentioned earlier, and what else have we got on there? So what security standards you and also what sort of access do you need for customer IT infrastructure? So customer IT infrastructure, all we need is a pipe Ethernet connection to go outside. There's nothing else on that building that we need to connect to. Effectively, our Ethernet gateway is a node with a connection to the outside world. It doesn't actually have the ability to communicate to anything else other than our secure server. And whenever we sit there and send any messages to it, it goes to our secure server, and then the gateway goes and collects the messages that it needs. There's no direct connection between your PC, anything else like that, and the device. So hopefully that answers some of the security. And that was the biggest bit that got LAN security over the hurdle. They were worried about potential VPN tunnels and other tunnels into their network from outside, which is the way that a lot of people are getting into, airport security and things like that, and I think hospitals recently as well. They're going in through fuse boards and other kind of innocent devices that people think aren't there for that reason, but they work their way into the system. I hope that helps.
Okay, we've got another question from Jasper. What type of smart sensors could you add to MyMesh to create a smart building?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So there's range of different sensors you can have. So we've got the multi-sensor, which is daylight and presence PIR, and that's the battery powered one. We can supply microwave sensors that internally clip into the node and work that way. There's also a miniature PIR that works in the very same way. It just plugs into the node and can be mounted internally. There is also a range of Daimler's 230 volt PIRs that are either long range, short range, high bay, sort of your traditional sensors, but with the MyMesh included as well. So there's a huge variety of different sensors that can be used depending on what you're trying to do. So if you've got IP rated bulkheads, then microwave is going to probably be the way to go. In office environments, it's probably easier to just use the multi-sensor, so you don't have to start trying to mount into your edge or backlit panels. And then in a industrial environment, if you're going up to 16, 18 meters, then the Daimler's PIR might be the way to go, just from a height and being able to control multiple luminaires with a racking aisle sort of detection. So yeah, lots of different options that, as we've said before, we'll work with you to come up with the best one for each project.
Yeah, and they don't have to necessarily be sensors as we see them today. We have an OEM board that we work with people, and they can integrate that into their devices. And also, if it's running a Nordic Bluetooth chip, which is what we've had, which is the same basis that we run, because we're device agnostic, we're just a wireless protocol. We can actually sit there and integrate this with multiple different devices. We can go with, at the moment, we've got an air quality sensor that's coming on board. It's actually deployed in a few sites already. We're working on a leak detection solution. Anything that runs on a Nordic Bluetooth chip and is not blasting with loads and loads of data, we have the ability to effectively burn our protocol on and integrate as part of the MyMesh family. So it's not going to get smaller, is what we can say.
I think probably it's not necessarily a sensor, just to add in, but what we can also do is work off a BMS system that's already integrated into a building. So for example, if the fire alarm goes off, we can attach a node to that system on a volt-free contact and turn all the lights on as soon as the fire alarm goes off. Or if you've got a retail environment and they want to change the lighting levels throughout the day, or they go into stocking mode in the evening when all the staff come in, they drop all the lighting, we can work with that as well. So effectively, we can create this whole sort of smart building based on just using a couple of different nodes and sensors.
I've also had one from Ray asking, what about Australia? They have different bands.
Well, we're running 2.4, which is the international standard for wireless Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So I'm not too aware of Australia, but I know they have, you know, telecommunication bands like 833 and things like that, and 433 in that frequency. But I can't imagine Australia have got a different Wi-Fi band. Maybe they have. They're to be corrected, but as far as I'm aware, you know, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz is a international standard, and it's approved, and we abide by those rules. So hopefully that answers your question, Ray.
Thanks. We've had one from Joe. Can you connect third-party devices?
I think we might have almost kind of answered that one. Yes, so third-party devices, Joe. Yes, so we've got the ability to do that either through the contact closure that Ben just mentioned, or we can integrate into them as part of the mesh infrastructure. We've also just about to launch a fault-free contact device that allows you to put your own mechanical switches on there and then interject that into the MyMesh network as an input device for, you know, retractive switches, for example, or doors open, doors closed, or various other things that are happening on the system.
Yeah, so I mean, what we're also doing as PrimeLight and MyMesh together is growing the ecosystem. So early next year, we're looking to have a driver released with the system built into it. So you don't need a node and a driver; you just need the driver. So that's just going to keep expanding throughout our product range, where we've got such a vast array of products that all lend themselves to working with a wireless system. We're just going to try and keep growing that ecosystem more and more. So if there's any solutions that people go, that would be really great to have, please let us know, and you know, we can work on that and integrate it into the system as well.
Okay, just another one from Bogdan. Have you ever tested Carlo Gavazzi kit on the system?
I'm just on the speed of Google looking that up as we speak. So the answer is unfortunately not, but I'm looking at it as we speak. We've got a Modbus device that's coming online very shortly. So looking at what I can see on the automation components here, it's BACnet, Ethernet, and IP. So if they will work on Modbus, then absolutely. We're running our first implementation on the Modbus side of things. They're doing both receive and transmit. It's not master and slave anymore. It's server and the other name, because we've all gone PC. Just eludes me at the moment. But the first implementation we're doing is some energy metering. We're actually taking the Modbus signal from energy meters on a site and presenting that on our network. So looks like it might be the ability to do that. Let's we can take that offline if you want, Bogdan. If you want us to look at that, just ping us an email.
Thanks. We've got a few on emergency, if you're okay to answer those. Where are the emergency reports stored, and how does the client get access to the reports?
Okay, so they're stored on our secure server. We run that through Amazon or our own server as well, and access to the reports, we email them as and when required. So we can give a weekly report, monthly report, or whenever you want, and we'll keep them for 3 years as is required, and then we'll send them to the customer by email. That helps.
Great. Can you group the devices when you commission them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go on, Ben.
Oh yeah. So basically, what you do when you launch the commissioning app is you create rooms within a building. So if you've got office, and then within that you've got John's office, any luminaires you put into John's office with a PAR will automatically work as a group. So there's actually, you don't have to physically create the links. By creating a room and putting those luminaires in there, they will automatically do so, which just saves you know that little bit of time. And then if you want a switch to control the whole floor, you just drag that in on the floor level, and that switch will then work with everything on that floor. So incredibly easy to do. But it is a free download on the iOS store. If you want to download it, you can quickly get started and just see how the solution works. Very simple to do. And then if you need us to talk through it, please feel free to phone us and we'll happily go over that.
There is actually, on the subject of the app, there's actually a demo function. As soon as you sit there and get it running, you can run it as a demo, and you could do your own virtual system. So that's a good way of getting used to the system.
We've just had another message about sound as well, sorry. I'm just checking if you can just let us know if everybody's having a sound issue or if it's just a couple of you. But I'll carry on with the questions. So we have another one on emergency. Are there password levels of access to the system tiered from the high level commissioning access, i.e. so the customer could perform a non-scheduled test to show an inspector it's working?
Yeah, absolutely. That part of the portal, you can sit there and you can run a test on an individual fitting, or you can run a test on the entire room area, however you want to subdivide that. Whether that's just a function test or a full 3-hour test.
Great. What is the maximum distance between luminaires?
Generally, we run on a 50-meter maximum between spaces, depending on the building infrastructure. Obviously, if you've got metal lined walls and metal lined ceilings, the range is reduced a lot. But in normal concrete walls, plasterboard walls, we're 50 meters between devices.
Okay, I think this is probably going to be the last one now, unless anybody else has got any. Can you set your own groups up so you can keep the building occupied? Is that okay?
Just trying to. Who was that question from, Lisa? Sorry.
That's Ben Williams. Can you set up your own groups so that you can keep the building occupied?
Big benefit. Trying to understand the question actually. Your own groups, is that for emergency lighting or is that for?
If you can expand on that question, that'd be good. I think we're having a few problems with sound. So if anybody's having issues, let us know. But I think that's it for the questions. We've come to the end of questions. I think we've answered everybody's. It's saying it's silent now, so we'll end there. And if anybody can still hear me, I will send out the recording. And if you've got any further questions, please contact us. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you very much.